Non-performing assets are the new harsh reality of banking sector in the country. Experts have said that bad loans are likely to rise further in 2014 as the lag effect on asset quality in relation to economic slowdown has not yet peaked. How big is the problem and what other measures need to be taken in the future? Our correspondent Shishir speaks to Dr. Visswas, ex-banker and NPA consultant.
NPA is a bigger challenge for our banking sector, and this challenge is increasing day by day as we have seen that most of the banks announcing the NPA level has increased. But of course, to talk more on this issue right now, we have with us ex-banker Dr. Visswas, who is not just ex-banker here but also an expert regarding how these NPA issues will be resolved. So, first of all, let me talk about the NPA that we have seen here. We have seen the levels of the NPA rising day by day. Issues are so many things, and the picture has been drawn here. It's like this is a never-ending problem for the banking sector. It's a cancer that probably we have seen here. How do you look at this NPA problem right now?
I think it is not a NPA problem as such. It is how we looking at the NPA business sickness. NPA is just we have defined it as an NPA. But ultimately the root cause is the sickness in the industry. And the sickness in the industry can be because of the individual management problems or because of the economic problems. If the national economy is in the problem, the NPA situation is going to be increased. So the basic improvement which we have to do is into the national economy. What are the problems in the economy? How the economy will be in the progressive mode? If the economy goes into the progressive mode, there will be definitely a change in the NPA situation. Last several years, there is no economic growth. Particularly if you see the major contribution comes from the national economy, major contribution comes from SME sectors. The MSME sector is not being protected properly. The fundamental clause for NPA is that 90 days clause. Now, how can you define any sickness which has to be recovered within 90 days? Particularly when there is an industrial growth is being affected because of the economy. So those things have to be properly taken care of. Another issue with the banking sector is that the process of sanctioning the loan. The loans are not sanctioned just because of the valuation or evaluation of the project. It is also has got a bearance on the availability of collateral security. So are you financing collateral based business? Are you financing business need based finance? If you consider these two things, you will find that the root cause is into the beginning of the giving the finance. Gamut of the economics, politics and the social aspect behind it. I say when the social aspect, NPAs are not affecting only banks. They are affecting the employment. SMEs are the highest employment creators. Now SMEs, one SME falling sick is creating unemployment for number of people. Right off, instead of that, why not create a rehabilitation fund? If you create a rehabilitation fund and rehabilitate these units, perhaps these units again come back into the profits and not only repay the whole money to the bank, they will also contribute to the GDP.
Well, most important thing is that now we have started depending on the ARCs also. Most of the banks have started looking for the ARCs. For example, the SBI have hired the ARCs for 5,000 crore of their NPAs to restructure again. How do you look at these companies going to play a role into this?
You are just shifting. We are working only on the symptoms. We are not working on the root causes. Let us work on the root causes. Why the business is becoming sick? There can be one problem which is a willful defaulter, and there is another problem which is not because of willful defaulter, because of the economic situation, which are the external factors, which are not within the control of the promoters. So you have to treat willful defaulters in a different fashion, and you have to treat the genuine business problem in a different fashion. But most of the situation, most of the cases, particularly PSU bank, there is a need from the banking side also to understand what is the exact business problem. Just putting the pressure on the recovery, taking the coercive measures will not solve the problem. You see, any business, whether it is banking, has got only two purposes to be in the business. One is to get the customer, other one is to retain the customer.
You highlighted one point that PSU banks and of course the public sector banks and private sector banks, somewhere the NPA levels are different here, and mostly PSU banks are hard hit because of this. Looking both the NPs of both the banks here, banking sectors, how do you look at them now?
Private sector banks are more flexible. They always try to find out some solution. But PSU banks are working with certain parameters. A lot of bureaucratic red tapeism is there. And that has to be removed. You have to look at the NPA in a very, very broader perspective. Not just that 90 days clause, that 90 days becomes, that account becomes NPA. Why it has become NPA? Work it on the basic route. You have got BIFR, but that is not available for MSMEs. There is no BIFR for MSMEs. So they are very, and the major employment and the 40% GDP is contributed, 8% GDP is contributed by MSMEs. 40% export has been done by MSMEs. 45% of the production is contributed by MSMEs. So they are very, very important sector for the nation. Indian people are very, very positive. Indian brains are very fertile brains. They are very ready to find out the way out in whatever may be the problems. So under these circumstances, what is required is a strong visionary policy. Who is for whom? Banks are for business. If the business becomes strong, the business will take care of the bank.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you for talking to us.
Running on a good investor response being generated for 3,000 crore rupees CPSE exchange